titled Introducing the God of War Ragnarok Behind the Scenes series. And they say episode 1 kicks off with a deep dive into storytelling. And they say here, since the very first moment of development on God of War Ragnarok, our team at Santa Monica Studio has made hundreds of decisions each day that have shaped this game into the experience and story that we are about to share with you on November 9th. Over the course of this journey, every single team member who has touched God of War Ragnarok in one way or another has left their mark, each with their own perspective that has given life to everything you will see, hear, and interact with at launch. In the God of War Ragnarok Behind the Scenes series, we will be taking you to all 9 realms, from Midgard to Asgard, and perhaps a pit stop along the way. With each episode, we hope to provide you not only a unique perspective on the years-long endeavor of creating this title, but also bring you insights from many of the team members who have made this possible. Starting today, on every Tuesday for the next 9 weeks, we will be diving into one aspect of the game, from shaping the story and elevating combat to creating the score and crafting cinematics. Our first episode begins much like our story does in Midgard, where we'll be discussing the key narrative beats from the last game that will come back into play in God of War Ragnarok, as well as how our team approached taking on a sequel that will conclude the Norse saga. We'll keep these spoiler-free until launch, so don't worry about us spilling every secret. Unless you're the Allfather himself, you'll have to wait for November 9th to figure out everything we've got hidden up our sleeves. And so episode 1 of the series is available now. It's about 10 minutes long. It's on the official PlayStation YouTube channel. I'll have it linked down below and probably some of it playing in the background. And guys, I highly, highly recommend you check this out if you're looking forward to Ragnarok, because after watching this first episode, especially as it got to the end of it, it definitely got me even more excited for this game, which is hard to believe because, I mean, I feel like my excitement levels have peaked at this point, but this is a really cool thing that they're doing. And as I mentioned, they decided not to do a state of play for God of War, and when I see something like this, I begin to think maybe it's not because they're limited with time or resources or anything like that. Maybe it really is because this game is just so chock full of, you know, story secrets, and they really just couldn't find a proper section to show off in a state of play without potentially spoiling something. So maybe instead they decided to go with this behind the scenes series, which is very cool. And like they said, they're going to be dropping one every Tuesday, so be sure to check that out. But the final topic I have for you is actually something that was pulled out of this first episode of the behind the scenes series. God of War Ragnarok is bigger than envisioned and brings closure to characters. Reading from Gaming Bolt, to say that God of War Ragnarok is highly anticipated would be an understatement. The fact that the Norse saga is coming to a close makes it an even bigger deal. In a new behind-the-scenes video, the first in a series, the narrative team at Santa Monica Studio talks about the decision to go with 2 games from the saga instead of a trilogy. Lead writer Richard Galbert said whether the Norse saga was going to be a trilogy or just 2 games was something we debated a lot. There were obviously pros and cons for either approach, so we waited for Cory Barlog to weigh in, and he did. And he said, let's do it in 2. Senior producer for narrative Ariel Angeletti added, the consequence to that is, how do you wrap up the story in one game and do Ragnarok justice? How do we lead up to that and then have a big moment at the end of the game and wrap all those threads? The game is bigger than we initially envisioned. There are a lot of important story moments that we needed to cover. There are more characters that we follow the threads of, and ultimately it ends up feeling big and epic because there is a lot there for people to enjoy. Richard Galbert also added that he's very excited for players to experience this final chapter. A lot happens. We put our characters through the ringer, but we also bring them closer. We provide answers to a lot of the questions the first game posed. Players will also see how the bond between Atreus and Kratos develops, and how new characters like Tyr and Angrboda shake up the established relationships. And so this was just a little bit of a write-up, kind of teasing some of the stuff that the narrative team over there at Santa Monica talks about in this video. So I, again, highly recommend you check it out for yourself. But yeah, hearing this stuff is getting me just that much more excited for when this game drops on November 9th. So